Hi, I'm Helena. So today we're going to talk about the ring as a whole, and we're going to talk about who might be protagonist, who might be antagonist, who might be the good, who might be the evil. The last two will be, as always, as we always are in the post-exile Wagner, pretty difficult because there's not really good or evil when it comes mostly. There are, of course, exemptions, but normally there aren't really good or evil people. I think there's much more a shade of grey situation, and this is reflected in the ring. There's really hardly anyone who can be described as 100% good, 100% bad. Just saying. Wagner wants us to think differently, but, well. Also to let you know what's going to happen in the next few weeks. Next week we'll have Parsifal, and then if my mathematics are correct, then we have 2 more weeks where we talk about stuff, and I thought, since I have to fill those weeks, that I will talk about my favorite musicals, 1 per week. Yeah, and then we have June, which means that I'll have the honor of wearing 1 gown a day, so to say, and then I will try them all on and see what I ultimately am gonna wear for the ring in Bayreuth. Because it's difficult, you have to be on your feet a long time. Even if it's just the Rheingold, you're sitting 2.5 hours, and plus 1 hour before where you mingle, and then for the ride there. So even that's about 4 hours where you have to wear the dress. So it has to be comfortable. And we're not even going to talk about Götterdämmerung, where it's, I think, 4.5 to 5 hours plus 2 hours intermission, because there's an intermission in Bayreuth 1 hour after each act, plus 1 hour before, plus the ride there, plus the ride back. So we're talking about 8-9 hours in this dress with the high heels and all. So this has to be comfortable, but it also has to look good in case, I don't know, they sometimes do this with premieres that they broadcast them. I was not unwillingly, but it was a bit weird. I was in the Götterdämmerungs podcast broadcast from the last premiere. So you see me going like this because I didn't want to be stuck with my heels in the ground, which is not pretty. And I want to rectify that this year, that it's that I look better than that. But again, it has to be comfortable and it has to look good. So this is what I'm going to do in June, putting everything on, saying this is going to work, this is not going to work. Maybe what for what is also working, because you're going to be judged. Hardly. And if you don't have an intermission, you're not going to be judged as hardly. Yeah, but anyway. And then in July, before I go to Bayreuth, it's gonna be, I don't know, I think it's gonna be me talking about what I hope for. Not what I expect, but what I hope for, because I didn't get last time what I expected, and it was wonderful, and it was great, and it was perfect, and I will love this ring till the end of my days. This wonderful ring that Valentin Schwarz made. So it's not going to be expectations, but it's just going to be wishes, more or less. Yeah, because I have some fears, with the concept, but we're going to talk about this in July. So this is what we're going to do within the next few months. And obviously I'm going to tell you, everything all right? We have a visitor who's a stray cat, and she sometimes eats here, and she sometimes comes into the house, so she's outside and I hear her purring through the door. Anyway, and and she sneezed right now, so anyway, going to talk about this baby. Also, if you like need a translation, aka English German, this is pretty good. Like, it's heavy, it's not what I would carry around with me. That's why I love my reclams. Yes, to all the university professors, they are not the best text. And I don't care. I want to have something that's handy with me that I can read when I'm bored. And this might be a better text, but I will not drag this around with me, as also the prices, which is like for my Shakespeare bachelor thesis, I had to buy the Oxford things, which are like 20 euros, 25 euros, even though I already had the reclams for them, which are like 5 tops. But it wasn't good enough. Anyway. So, protagonist, antagonist. We're gonna start with that. So I would say that first of all, we look at how much stage time people have. Because obviously if someone, like Hagen for example, Hagen, he's only in the Götterdämmerung. There's not much more to him. So we can't really make him the antagonist of the whole ring, because he literally isn't there for 3/4 of it. So we have, I think it's 3 characters that are singing 3 evenings. This is Wotan, this is Brünnhilde, and this is Alberich. And I think we don't have to look much further as in who we're taking as a protagonist and antagonist. So I would personally say that Brünnhilde is probably the protagonist, but she's also kind of what we had last week. She's kind of an extension to Wotan. So I don't want to say I want to take them as the same exact person, but they are like in the same realm, the way that Alberich and Hagen are. So I would maybe put them up as protagonists. Not as the good ones, not as the evil ones, just as the protagonists, because most of the story evolves around them. Obviously we had the difficulties in Götterdämmerung where we were like, yeah, is Siegfried the protagonist of Götterdämmerung? Yada yada yada. He's the protagonist of Siegfried, but not overarchingly. Only as we see like the family as a whole, then this could work. For example, Siegfried is the son of Siegmund and Sieglinde. Just had to think of something. Never mind. Siegfried's the son of Siegmund and Sieglinde, who on their turn are the children of Wotan. So we have this kind of, like, the sun is a bit weird today. So this is, yeah, now my camera rectified it. But the sun's a bit weird today. Anyway, and the purring stopped. So I would maybe say we could do that. Like, this is probably the Schwarz approach, that you say you have this family construct around which it all evolves, and they are the protagonists. So we would have as the protagonists, we have Wotan, Siegmund, Sieglinde, Siegfried, and Brünnhilde. So we have, again, this family construct, not one single protagonist, but this. And in that case, I think it would be fair to assume, because yes, Alberich is in Götterdämmerung. He's in that Schläfst du Hagen, mein Sohn scene. Yeah. So I don't think he has many more scenes, does he? Am I stupid? Yes, probably. I don't think he has. I think it's that one scene, probably. And only to say, that's my dad, and that's my son, basically. So I would then say that if we take the family as a protagonist, that we then take other family as the antagonist, which is again this is the Schwarz thing. But he also made it that based on what I think Mime and Wotan talk about, which is Lichtalberich and Nachtalberich, which is that Wotan's kind of the light version of Alberich and Alberich's the night version. So he made them twins, so they are just one big happy family, and just different strands of the family are protagonists and antagonists. Yeah, it's absurd. But also in general, I would think that as antagonists, probably Alberich and Hagen aren't the best options. And I don't take Mime into that. I want to be very clear. Because obviously we talked about this, Jewish knight figures, yada yada yada. Yes, he was an anti-Semite. We talk about this every video. So, we have three characters who... we have two official Jewish knight figures, which are Alberich and Mime. But we also have, like, their family, as in Alberich's son, which is Hagen. And also, we shouldn't ever forget this. Loge is a cousin to Alberich and Mime. And Wagner did that deliberately. Very clear. Wagner did that deliberately. He chose to do that. Because if we look at the mythology, Loki's what? He's a giant. He's not one of the Nibelungs. He's a giant. He's literally the exact opposite. But Wagner wanted to tell us, look out for him. He may be on the sides of the gods now, but in his blood, he's one of the Nibelungs. He's one of the evil ones. Okay. So, yeah. These are the people that Wagner wants us to think that they're bad. But again, I would haul Mime out because he's only evil in one of those parts, because he's only evil in Siegfried, really. In Rheingold, I'm just genuinely very sorry for him. Yeah. He gets really treated badly by his brother and, yeah, the usual sibling stuff. Anyway, so this was the easy part of the video, as in who's protagonist, who's antagonist. Now comes the hard part, which is who's the good and who's the evil. Because we're at this again. What is good and what is evil? Because I mean, again, we have a very clear thing that Wagner would want us to do, that Wagner would want to be the good one, which is obviously Siegfried and Brünnhilde and Wotan. And considering, like, chronically, that he started by doing Siegfried, by writing Siegfried, I would think that he intended for Siegfried to be the whole entire protagonist, but then he wrote Siegfried's death, aka Götterdämmerung, and people were like, yeah, we don't understand that storyline, so he wrote Valkyrie, and they said, we don't understand that either, and he wrote Rheingold. So, probably Siegfried, overarchingly, would be the good for me. And I'm going to be very careful about what is doing this. What's the sun doing? Yeah, now it's getting dark again. Anyway, normally I have like the sun at my side, so it doesn't bother me as much. But in this case, it's like shining directly into my face. Anyway, so because everyone else is kind of compromised, let's say in one way or another, even though the one person I would feel like is the true good of it all, she's pure, she's the one, she's perfect, and the whole thing literally ends with her love, who is Sieglinde. She commits adultery, unfortunately. Yes, she commits adultery against a man whom she didn't want to marry, whom she was forced to marry, whom she was forced to spend her life with him, but she still committed adultery. So is that good in this case? Like, if we purely go off of character, Sieglinde is my clear winner, and also is Siegmund to a degree, but he also committed adultery, and I don't want to say it, but had he just killed his sister's husband, so his brother-in-law, is it his brother-in-law? Yeah. If he would have just killed Hunding, none of this would have happened. Because Fricka's primary argument in the Valkyrie is she's married. This can't happen because Sieglinde is married to Hunding. So this is why this can't happen. And they're also twins. But primarily, they're married. Like, had he just killed Hunding and then slept with his sister, they would have been out of Fricka's realm. Fricka as being the goddess of marriage. So that was kind of stupid. If he just had waited, and he also wouldn't have lost his life, so it would have been a completely different cause of this whole thing. I always forget that the sleeve's there, so I'm like, what is that? It's difficult. I think that everyone compromises themselves at one point or another. For Wotan, it literally starts with him compromising himself by saying, you built me this, and I'm not gonna pay. Yeah, not the best approach. Let's say it like this. So his lie and his deception also starts this whole ordeal. Let's be very real for this. Otherwise, they would have never needed to go to Nibelheim and to get the ring and to get the gold to pay off the giants if he hadn't lied to them in the first place. What do we learn out of this? If you want to build a castle, get the money for it. Don't just say, oh, here's my sister-in-law, she's pretty. No, this is not the way to go, okay? So Wotan's out. Brynhilde, we talked about her. In the Valkyries, she's really primarily the extended will of her father. In Siegfried, she's not on that long. Actually, she's got one scene, which is very, very hard to sing and very difficult to sing. Poor girl. And then in Götterdämmerung, based on a wrong situation, so to say. So because she thinks that Siegfried deceives her, yes, deceives her, and that he left her, and that he, well, I don't know, raped her so she could marry another man. And then she says, yeah, I'm gonna kill this guy. She's also compromised. And Siegfried, of course, is naturally compromised because he doesn't have a good education or a good parental home, really. Because I don't want to know what Mime taught him. Like, I don't, okay? So Siegfried learned all of his stuff in the woods. So he's a natural good, I would say. If we say, yeah, just from the nature standpoint of this all, then Siegfried's the man to go. Because he just does what nature does. Get what I mean? He doesn't know that deceiving people exists, because it hardly happens in nature. Anyway, same goes, by the way, for monogamy, so this might also be a reason. No. He got the love potion because he was stupid enough to not be raised by his parents. Never mind. So, personally, I would pick Sieglinde for being the good one, but she compromises herself by committing adultery. I also have a very, very controversial pick for who could be the good one. Just because if you look at it from a rational standpoint, she's right. And that's Fricka. Because she is right. But she's not there long enough, unfortunately. So we can't really count her as the good one, because obviously she isn't there after the Valkyrie. And officially, not in the Schwarzring, but officially, she has only one scene in the Valkyrie. So she really doesn't have enough stage time to be the good. Neither does Sieglinde at the end of the day. Yeah, I think I'd probably have to go with Siegfried. But it isn't good enough for the whole ring. Because he's only in the last two. So it's difficult again, because we're dealing, absurdly enough, because this is of course set in a fantastical world and it's the basis of Game of Thrones, but they're all human. And this is what I love about, like, mythology. I'm not wearing my normal necklace today, so normally I have my amulet here and then I have a rune down there. So this is why I always grab here, because I expect my amulet to be here. But this is what I love about Northern mythology, is that they all are not human, but they all make mistakes. And I think it makes us deal with our own mistakes better if we know that our deities, that our gods can make the same mistakes, and that we don't seek after an ideal that we literally can never fulfill, like having the perfect life, never doing anything bad. It's impossible. And this is what we're dealing with. We're dealing with humans. We're dealing with mankind. No one is without fault. Like, literally no one. But now we get to, like, the other side of the spectrum, and then we learn that Wagner was indeed of the opinion that there are people who are just evil. And if we look at some of the mass murderers of the last years, or in, I think, is it Netflix series that, like, have these weird murder things where they make all the murderers sexy? Like, I don't know. I think I saw a video about that recently. Weird. But I mean, he's right, there are monsters among us. Just have to be very, very clear. Jeffrey Epstein, for example. There are monsters. Can't say it any more clearly. So, let's go to the evil. And I think I wouldn't exactly to do anything much differently than what I said in, like, the antagonist spectrum. That you have Alberich, obviously, as the main evil, because there's literally, I feel sorry for him. Let's say it like this. I feel sorry for him in the beginning of the Rhinegold, because he's genuinely treated very badly by the Rhine maidens, and they make fun of him and his physical appearance, and that makes him curse love and take the ring and forge the ring. So I feel sorry for him, but genuinely after that, because he's unable to love, he becomes a monster. I think people without love and without hope, these are the most dangerous people in the world, and he has neither anymore because he doesn't love. He's unable to love. And obviously he rapes Hagen's mother, he makes his brother his servant, and all the other stuff. And he basically sees how his son gets drowned in the end. It's like the second to last death in this whole ordeal. So Alberich, he was made a monster, basically, in the first scene that we see. Because he curses love, he's a man without love, he's a man without hope, because also this hope has been destroyed by the Rhine maidens, who also survive. Yeah. I think he's like the main evil. And also he's like in 3 out of the 4 parts. He's only not in Valkyrie, because the ring's also not in the Valkyrie. So the Valkyrie for me is probably the one that could stand alone out of the 4. If you just go there and see it, and you could probably understand most of it without having watched the before, without watching the after. Yeah, so Alberich doesn't appear in the Valkyrie because the ring doesn't. And then later we have Hagen to kind of take over the torch of being the evil one, because he doesn't get a redemption arc either. Also, he's a raped child, and he has Alberich as his father, and he has a rape victim as a mother. So, and he has obviously, I'm throwing a bit of shade now. He has to live with Gunther and Gudrune. Like this poor guy. I'm sorry for Hagen. Actually, like, would you like to live with Gunther and Gudrune? No. Just like looking at them. Having breakfast with them every day while they're whining about their horrible lives. Because he can't get a woman and she can't get a man. Yeah, look in the mirror. Look at yourself in the mirror and ask yourself, why does no one want me even though I'm a king? Why does no one want me even though my brother's a king, and if he doesn't have heirs and I have them, my children will be kings and queens? And still no one wants to marry them. Like, poor Hagen. He's really, I'm really sorry for him. And again, Valentin Schwarz made it a beautiful, not a beautiful story for him, but he really worked this out. And I think, no, he's not. Of course he's not in the Valkyrie. In the Schwarzring, Hagen is also in 3 out of the 4 parts, because he's only the like adopted son of Alberich, not the real one. So yeah, what do we have now? We have, as the protagonists, we have kind of the family around Wotan, Brünnhilde, Sigmund, Sieglinde and Siegfried. As a whole, because there's really not one single person that could do that, because Brünnhilde is over large parts either not there or his will, Wotan's will, so she's not a person of her own. And there's that light again. And no one else really gets that. Wotan is not there for a really big part, which is Götterdämmerung. He's just not there. Waltraud is there for him. She talks to Brünnhilde for him. But she's not the extension of will that Brünnhilde was. Anyway, and as antagonists we have then the kind of the Nibelungs, daddy and son, Alberich and Hagen, monsters in the making. And again, for the good and the evil. The good probably Siegfried. Again, personally I would say Sieglinde, because she's one of the most underrated characters and one of the strongest characters I think there are in musical theatre repertoire. Just absurdly mentally and physically strong, stronger than anyone else, because she's always alone. And again, we have to think that the Valkyrie takes place in May, so right around now. So if she conceives Siegfried now, it's a February child, so she has to live on her own in the woods for 9 months and throughout the winter. And she has a stepmother who's also, I think, the goddess of childbirth, this will not be easy for her. She has to do all this by herself. She has to get food by herself. She has to get shelter by herself, all while so and so many months pregnant and throughout the winter in woods where even the gods don't go because, well, a certain worm is wiggling around there. So for me, she is the good one, but not necessarily. So Siegfried, probably most extremely. And then as the evil one, we had Alberich and we had Hagen. Even though both, I think, are also victims of their circumstances. Just saying, it can't be the best thing if you're like deceived by those stupid Rhine maidens and made fun of and all that. Even though I think we can all say that Alberich, he was just there for a quick number. And he was certainly like not going to like marry any of them. He was just good with whoever would warm his bed. So he's not the best person either before he becomes that loveless, hopeless monster. But he's also been made into a monster by the Rhine maidens and by the world, as is Hagen with his personal history. So yeah, that's it for today. I think this has been better organized than other videos and probably worse than last week's, but never mind. Again, by the way, if you want this in Germany, like I think Thalia has it. I saw it there once. I was too stupid to like see if it is available in Germany, so I had it sent over from America because I'm that stupid. Anyway. Have a nice day. I hope you're well. I hope you're doing well. And see you next week for Parsifal, which is hopefully gonna be easier than this week. Because we are still dealing with humans, but we're dealing with Catholic humans. So they are completely in the, oh, he's a completely good person because he's purely good thing. So we're in that again and not in the we're all humans, we all make mistakes thing. Okay, have a nice day. Take care.